Derevi was a bird, a tall one, slender and sharp-eyed, and she flew high above the battlefield. She was a commander, one of those rare leaders who could see everything at once, who could take in the chaos below and move her forces like pieces on a board. The land she ruled was Bant, a quiet place, but war came to Bant like it comes to all places in time, and when it came, it found Derevi waiting, always ready. She was born on Bant on Alara. It was a land made of three forces, white, green, and blue. Each of those colors defined something in her. The green was for the land she fought to protect, the white for the discipline she imposed on herself and her soldiers, and the blue for the sharpness of her mind. That mind had been honed like a blade. She had studied the ways of strategy, of tactics, of war. As a boy learns the motions of his fists before a fight, she knew what it took to win, and she had won. More than once. When the Grixis hordes came to Split Peak, she turned their numbers into nothing. She never fought the Grixis the way others might. She didn't send her forces charging headlong into the fray. That was the mistake of others. She waited. She watched. She saw the weak spots in their lines, and when they were there, she struck. She struck with the precision of a falcon diving for its prey. And the hordes broke. They scattered. They never had a chance. But it wasn't just on the battlefield that Derevi won. She had a mind for diplomacy too. She understood that to win a war, you couldn't just defeat your enemies in battle, you had to outthink them. When the Esper Council moved against her, thinking they could undermine her command from within, she had already seen their move coming. They thought themselves clever, too clever by half. But Derevi was always 2 steps ahead. She turned their plot back on itself, making them fight amongst themselves instead of against her. Her followers saw this and they believed in her. They didn't follow her because of her beauty, though she had that too, but because she was steady, because she was disciplined, because she was fair, and because she was always honest with them. They knew without question that she would never lead them into a fight she didn't think they could win. She wasn't a leader who sent others to die for her ambition. She was a leader who fought beside them. She was always out front, leading the charge, and she knew how to read the land too. Bant wasn't a wild land. It was a place of balance, of peace, and of order, but it was also a land that could be broken. The forces that came to destroy it didn't understand that. They didn't understand that peace wasn't the absence of war, but the ability to fight it when necessary. The land was sacred to Derevi, but she knew when to fight for it. And she fought like an animal, ferocious when cornered, clever when outnumbered. Every battle she fought was a test of her will, her mind, and her soldiers. The soldiers trusted her. They had to. If they didn't, they wouldn't survive. She didn't rule with fear, she ruled with respect. She earned it. The battlefields she commanded were not places where you would find heroics. There was no room for them. There was no room for the grand speeches of victory or the waving of swords in triumph. There was only the end result, victory. She had no time for the politics of war. She knew what needed to be done, and she did it. The armies of Bant were not large, but they were effective. They didn't rely on brute force to win. They relied on their commander. She moved her pieces carefully. She moved them like she was playing chess. And in the end, that was what made her such a great leader. She didn't play for the crowd. She played for the victory. And it wasn't just the soldiers who believed in her. The people of Bant looked up to her. They knew that when the darkness came, Derevi would be the one to lead them out. They knew that she was the one who would not flinch when the Grixis or the Esper or any other invader came to destroy what they had built. She would be there. She would be flying high above them, watching, always watching. And when the time came, she would strike. But Derevi wasn't a hero in the way that people think of heroes. She wasn't someone who sought glory, who wanted songs sung about her. She didn't fight for the love of battle. She fought because it was necessary. She fought because the people she cared for needed her. There was no other way. Her soldiers, those who fought under her command, knew the truth. They knew she wasn't some untouchable figure, some legend that they could only dream of being. No, she was real. She was flesh and blood, just like them. And they followed her not because of what she could do for them, but because of what she had already done. She had led them to victory before, and they would follow her again. They knew that if anyone could win, it was Derevi. There were no speeches. There were no grand moments of glory. There was only the fight, and then the quiet after. The battle was won. The invaders were pushed back. and Derevi stood, looking down on it all, her sharp eyes already seeing the next move, already planning the next step. She was always 2 steps ahead. It was the only way to survive. She had done her job and she had done it well. That was the measure of her. The land was safe for now, and Derevi would be there when the next threat came, as always, watching, waiting, leading. Because that's what she was, a commander, a strategist, a protector, and always, always a bird.